Ah, here we go again. I got 1,000 views on the last joint, and it was a pretty fun video to make, so here we are, I guess. I decided the next one will be boss battles or underrated games. So yeah, today we're going to look at what I feel are my personal favorite unearthed gems. So you're going to be like, boy, what? Some of you are going to be like, well, yeah, absolutely. And some of you might be like, I've never heard of this game ever in my entire life, which is fine. But also take into account that game quality is a factor that I take into account, but it's not the only one. I also consider things like nostalgia, originality, untapped potential, and boy oh boy, there is a lot of that here, and just overall being what I consider a cool game. So, come and take this walk with me as we go to our first and only honorable mention. Honorable mention, Urban Reigns. Oh my god, do any of you know what the hell this game is? Like, there's no way, right? It's a little indie darling of the PS2 era from the guys that brought you Tekken and Virtua Fighter, and it's such a fun game. The story isn't deep or anything like that, but the game had a deep roster of characters and various fighting styles like judo, muay thai, and capoeira. And all of those styles came with their own unique throws and grapple moves that were so fun to pull off. It was always crazy to see how it could just be you and you're surrounded by these fighters and you just destroy them all with all of these weapons and knocking them into all of these different destructible environments, which I've always been a big mark for and still am, throwing guys through glass tables and things like that. But don't get me wrong, the game is wonky and definitely a little unpolished. But it had a lot of good ideas, you feel me? And definitely more hits than misses. But there definitely are some misses. But the things that I determine as hits are mainly what gets this game on the honorable mentions list. And that's basically the combat variations and locales. Urban Reign is definitely a product of its time. It's a very 2005 ass game. Like, you can tell immediately. But it's just fun in a way that games aren't anymore. I'm not saying that games now aren't fun, just not fun in this particular way. But it doesn't quite crack my list. But try it out. It might make yours. And also, a quick side note, the honorable mention came down to this and Jet Li Rise to Honor, another super underrated game that if I were to make this list, might actually be on it. But never mind that. Let's move on to number 10 on my list. And this a doozy. I mean, it might not even be considered a good game. This game. Whew. Let's get to number 10. Number 10. Deadly Premonition. This game sucks, dog. Sucks. It is ass. This game eats corn the long way. You know what I mean? And yeah, I know that might not sound like the most glowing review that you can give a game. But despite that, and really because of that, this game is a clickety classic, you feel me? It's 20 hours of just nonsense. Just nonsense with the quirkiest, most eccentric dialogue you have ever heard in your life. It sounds like if Tarantino watched Twin Peaks and then made a video game, but on crack, you know what I mean? Oh. And the game owns up to it. It doesn't pretend like it's something else, not one bit. But that's the beauty of it. I just giggle thinking about it. It opens up with the main character, Francis York Morgan, looking at dead bodies on his laptop while driving, in the rain, smoking, listening to this 70s ass blaxploitation music while talking about the interdependency of Tom and Jerry's romantic relationship. You hear all of that bullshit I just said to you? Yeah, that's this game. And that's just 40 seconds of it. It gets crazier than that. But from that point going forward, you should know that the ride that you're about to get on is a one-stop shop to Crazy Town, baby. And whew, I didn't even get to the coffee bit.
Did you see that, Zach? Clear as a crisp spring morning. F.K. in the coffee. I knew I could count on it. Never fails.
Or the sandwich bit.
Thank you a bunch.
Yes, of course. Just a moment. Here you go. The usual. 1 turkey, strawberry jam, and cereal sandwich.
Sounds like the sinner's sandwich. Self-inflicted punishment to atone for past sins. He's setting an example.
Mr. Francis York Morgan, you should try this wonderful lunch. It's more than a delicious, tasty crunch. So says Mr. Stewart.
No, that's fine.
Or even the goddamn iconic whistling theme. This jaunty ass whistling theme for a horror movie game.
Mrs. Olivia Cormack, I am here for Mr. Stewart's lunch. If it is ready, I'd thank you a bunch.
It's The Room, it's Trolls 2, it's Deadly Premonition, baby. Too bad the actual gameplay and the mechanics fucking blows. But anyway, on to the next game. Now this game is one that I love. Number 9, War of the Monsters. This is my jam. Do you hear me? My jam. A certified hood classic. Another game where the majority of the population has no idea it even exists. A little indie darling from the folks that brought you, what was it? Twisted Metal Black, I want to say. Comes War of the Monsters. A B-movie monster beat-em-up game. And it has everything you can love from a game from 2003. Once again, diverse characters and locales. Boy, do I love that. With fully destructible environments, I mean everything. You can destroy it. It parodies the B-movie kaiju flicks from the 50s, and you fight each other in huge cities where every building can be destroyed and knocked down, and you can also knock the monsters into the buildings, and they'll cave in and destroy you. This game rocks. I also love how all of the monsters reference famous pop culture monsters, like how Kongar is King Kong, Togera is Godzilla, and Ultra V is like a Jaguar Ultraman kind of deal. I love stuff like that. I'm a big Easter eggs guy, but it has those special Easter eggs that you just don't get anymore. The ones you hear about from word of mouth. I'm talking a real missing no Mewtwo under the truck type beat. You know what I'm saying? I'll never forget my friend 20 years ago telling me that if you throw a rock at the floating spaceship in the Japan level, a tsunami will come and wipe the level away. And I thought he was lying, but finding out that it was true, magic. We'll never get that back. That particular feeling, we'll never have it ever again. Go play this game, man. But with that being said, let's move on to the games that you should know. Number 8, Hulk Ultimate Destruction. Have you ever seen a game trailer that just changed the trajectory of life itself? I feel like there's a handful of games that did that for me. One being the I killed people, smuggled people, sold people trailer from Grand Theft Auto 4, and the other being the trailer for Hulk Ultimate Destruction. Just seeing the building at the very beginning fall and Hulk jumping off the side of the building to do an elbow drop broke my brain. It's still one of the single coolest images I've ever seen in a game. And for that game itself to live up to the feelings I had seeing this, this is peak. It's peak, baby. To me, this is a textbook example of a game being made to suit a character. This is a Hulk game, through and through. It's not just about being strong, but showcasing the creative ways to show that power and the ability to destroy. And this game is perfect for that. I hate to say the tired cliche of this game really makes you feel like so-and-so, but really it just perfects that. It's really short though, but it does perfect that feeling. even from the way that the regular humans and guns are just fodder to you and can't really harm you in any meaningful way. And Hulk's the same way that he is in the comics and the movies. And that's basically him being a uncontrollable entity of rage and power. Plus, you just do cool shit. You do cool things. Like you turn cars into boxing gloves and fight robots the size of skyscrapers. The game is just cool. Which brings us to number 7, Ultimate Spider-Man. Cel-shaded comic book style graphics? Check. Venom fighting Wolverine and doing the big Hulk jump? Check. Fighting Carnage and making Shocker look like a jobber? Check. We really used to be a proper country. This game rules, brother. Arkhamcity is running wild on this game. All of it is just dope. From the boss battles to the visual style, it's just a really solid Spider-Man game. Even the fast, exaggerated way that Spidey swings is just really fun. And it manages to feel original without straying too far from the tried and true Spider-Man formula. But what really sets this game apart is the Venom storyline. Ooh, peak, peakity, peak. It's the best shit ever. I just love how well he fits into the game. Like, he plays completely different for Spider-Man, but still feels perfect for this. Like, there's an eating mechanic. You know how he says hunger and eats. I love it. And the way you fight with the tendrils is just sick. I like how all of the villains look different from the costume that you might be accustomed to seeing them in. It really makes the game feel fresh. Even though I'm always gonna prefer Yellow Quilt. Get back here, Shocker! You can't escape me, I'll chase you to the ends of the earth. I'll always prefer that version of his costume, you know? But whatever, it's still dope, super dope. Was dope then, it's dope now. Play this if you want an original yet familiar feel on a Spider-Man game before you go off the web of shadows, which is like completely off the wall, but I also like that quite a bit. Which brings us to number 6, X-Men Origins Wolverine. How can a movie so bad, I mean movie to replay, awful, big maul, terrible movie, lead to a game so good? And it's a simple, just a good old-fashioned beat all the bad guys in the room and progress to the next area type of video game. A remnant of a lost era. A real press square for light attack, press triangle for heavy attack, press X to jump, press X twice to double jump type of game. We don't get these anymore. It's simple, but it's bloody and visceral, and the game really understands its main character. If the Hulk game was about the destruction, and this game is all about the carnage, if that makes sense. The visuals still hold up well, and it has nice Easter eggs and zoo wee mama. The way the game showcases battle damage and Wolverine's healing ability is top notch, genius even. Aside from the overall assness of the movie, I'll say that the healing mechanic of this game is the first thing I think about when someone mentions X-Men Origins Wolverine. The game is just brutal. I like that. And I'll say this game would have reached a wider audience if not for the movie leaving such a bad taste in everyone's mouth. But if that doesn't bug you, then go play this. Even just talking about this game right now makes me want to go play it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go do that now. But not before I get to number 5, God Hand. Well, so, we finally made it to God Hand, the game that critics got wrong, the game that is as hard as people, the game that actually is as hard as people on the internet think Dark Souls is. You can level up out of this one, baby, you just gotta get good. It's one of, if not the most underrated game ever, with its offbeat humor and deep combat that's really kind of hard to learn at times. There's nothing out there quite like it. There's so much freedom involved with choosing how you fight and defend, with the quick and flashy multi-directional dodging, with a bunch of head moves and head fakes and slips, and it's so much. There's also the crazy special moves and 114 different techniques that you can reorder in any way you want and assign to different face buttons that match your playstyle. It's hard to find that style that suits you best, but when you do find it and you find that combo that works for you and you nail the DBZ style of dodging and landing those heavy moves that send flows flying, this game really just clicks with you. But it's not one of those games that someone would say, oh, you just have to play it to get it. No, brother, just look at it. This game is all style and originality. Just look at it. You will get it. You will get why people would like this. To the point where you think of a game like God of War that dropped in this era or roughly around it, had a billion games since then that tried to mimic its mechanics, and I do mean a billion. But there isn't a single game before or after that's like God Hand. Really isn't. God Hand is really in a league of its own. It's just really hard and really weird and really hard to get your hands on. Whoo, but now it's time for another game that I could not believe, really just can't believe, got it slept on as it did. And this game holds up so well. So let's get on to it. Number 4, King Kong. Listen here, bucko. One word, atmosphere. The atmosphere of this game, oh my, as Michael Cole would say. I know we always say movie tie-in games suck or they're really cheaply made, but this was an exception. It does so many things right with both the Kong gameplay and the Jack gameplay. I mean, Kong feels like an unstoppable force with these brutal finishing moves where he slams the T-Rexes and breaks their jaws. It all felt so natural for Kong, and the movement can be kind of sluggish at times, but it matches the way that you would think a giant monster will move in this big and burly fashion. And then you have the Jack side, where you're forced to fend off these creatures with limited firepower, and sometimes all you have is a sharp stick and fire, and that's all. And that's what really sells it. But you know what really sells it is that there's no HUD or collectibles clogging up the screen. Just you, your character, and things trying to kill you and stuff you can kill it with. Really helping you feel immersed in the game. It really takes strategy to just survive. And it was interesting seeing how you would switch over to Kong and the game feels the exact opposite, going from Jack's fight to survive the attack to Kong's enemies fighting to survive his attack. You know what I mean? You have Jack who you're like, oh, I'm not going to make it. And then you have Kong where his enemies are like, oh, I'm not going to make it. Going from top prey to top predator. So yeah, go play this, because this is a banger. But oh, we're moving on to another banger. So yeah, go play this, because we're moving on to some bangers now. And our next game is one that can drop today, and I think it will still hit exactly the same. That game being number 3, The Punisher. Now this, bucko, this is how you make a video game that is faithful to its comic counterpart. If you want a brutal third-person shooter that just feels like you're playing a gritty comic book, then this is the game for you. It has fun bosses and all of the levels are remarkably different from each other. From the dark alleyways to the lush jungles to the prison riots. There's just so much going for it. And I haven't even begun to mention the interrogation mechanics and the special environmental kills that were a big deal, for better or worse, back in the day. And that really made the game feel unique from all of the other third-person shooters of the PS2 era. I just have so many fond memories of this game, like the super Punisher-y sounding menu music, and the thing where if you interrogate the right guy, a line will trigger an unlockable comic book Easter egg. You know, like if you strangled a guy, he'd go, "No, I have a family, 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 family." It would echo, and then a lockable will pop up, and you would kill the guy, and Punisher would say some stupid line like, "Yeah, you know, I had a family too." It was the best. Such a good game, good music, good story, good references to the source material. I'd definitely recommend this. But now it's time for the game that was originally number 1 on my list and probably should have made it to my all-time list. I kind of regret not putting it on there. Number 2, Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. You guys hip to this? You heard about this? There was this little game that you might have never heard of. I don't know. It came out in 2005. Little old this say yes does geek rented it from Blockbusters. No, not even Blockbusters. I rented it from Hollywood Video like 8 times. It's just a little game known as Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. Oh, it's also known as the greatest Mortal Kombat game of all time. Fight me if you think otherwise. But I'm also willing to accept someone saying Mortal Kombat Deception is the GOAT. I disagree, but I'm okay with that. After all of these years of playing the tried and true Mortal Kombat formula, here comes a completely unique spin on the franchise that puts an emphasis on the cooperative play and teamwork. I'm not a big co-op game guy, but I loved it here. It's such a fun game. It's nice to see all of the iconic, I'm gonna say this word again, I'm so sorry. It's nice to see all of the iconic locales. Should I just say levels? I'll shut up. It's nice to see all of the iconic levels and equally as iconic characters that you face in these boss battles, and you get to pull off super cool fatalities on these bosses. And with it being a linear Mortal Kombat story, killing the bosses always felt final. It's not like Dragon Ball Z or, you know, Mortal Kombat when all the characters come back 5 times. You know, if I kill Kentaro, Kentaro is dead, and I always liked that. And this game always just felt so fresh to me whenever I played it. This game is like Mortal Kombat meets Double Dragons or that dope ass Simpsons arcade game no one talks about anymore. It was just great to see a franchise stray away from the usual and just completely nail it in every aspect. Mechanics, characters, music, bosses, fan service, sound effects. You even get to play as Liu Kang and Kung Lao. And if you know the cheat codes, you can play as Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Also, bring cheat codes back. We used to be a private country. Bring cheat codes back. What are we doing in video games? Anyway, the game just knows what you, as a fan, wants out of it. Because this is a game that deserves a remake, a remaster, a re-release, or something. Put Shaolin Monks on something. But let's move on to the last game. I'm gonna make this quick. So truth be told, this upcoming game was originally number 1 on my list. I reckon Shaolin Monks and Punisher can fight it out for my true number 1 spot. But then once I really thought about it, and I mean really thought about it, there was a game that I felt was more deserving of that spot. A game that, honestly, I hate to put it like this, came and went. And it had the most, and I'm not saying debatably the most, it had the most potential I ever seen in a game in my life. And that game is Dreams. You know, Dreams deserved better. It really, really did. So much untapped potential and possibilities. Dreams was a sharp number 2 pencil on a blank piece of white paper. So much freedom to do whatever you want. It's essentially a million games in one. It can be a simple side-scroller game, a crazy animation studio, or a complete AAA sandbox game like what Elka Gaming is doing with the Avatar game, 4 Seasons, which that'll be another video. We'll talk about that later. But it's amazing. To even call dreams a video game is massively selling it short. Whatever you can think of, it can be made in dreams. It's like a dream. I guess that's the point, right? It's essentially the little big planet for the new generation. And even that, while super extensive, came with limitations that dreams just didn't have. Notice that I said didn't and not doesn't, because as of September, from what I understand, live support has died. So I guess dreams is just over, which is so goddamn sad. So I guess the only question left to ask is, why did dreams fall? The game that is every game. Why? Well, I think you can boil it down to the game being just too overwhelming for the general public. Most people will see the appeal in making your own video game, but will lose interest when they can't translate the millions of ideas they have to these games with these complex systems they have to learn how to use and really practice. You can't just pick up and play dreams. You have to learn dreams. And going back to the pen and paper analogy, you might have millions of ideas, and every one of those ideas might be the best idea in the world. But if you can't draw, then what's the point? You're just going to ball up the paper and throw it away. But even so, this was an amazing game. But it sucks because it didn't get the player base that it was owed. So try it out before it goes the way of PT and other classic games that died before it even got the chance to be what it was truly meant to be. But I'll tell you what it is. It's it's the most underrated game of all time. I've been gone for a bit. I don't know if you noticed, all 10 people who watch these videos, moving and all of that. But thanks for waiting. I think my next couple of videos will be me going back to the video essay side of things. I think what you guys kind of know me for. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe and all of that hoopla. I'm not sure what I want to do the essay on. I was doing a video on Cloverfield and Futurama at some point, but life got in the way. Maybe I continue that. I don't know for the life of me why I never did a video on Adventure Brothers movie. Like, it had a new Jacksepticeye reference and nobody got it, and I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, see ya. I have to go work on this video now, I guess. So, have a nice day. So, as mankind would say, have a nice day. Foley is God.
I still don't know why y'all watch my videos. I really don't. All my videos are trash. Nonetheless, if you're one of the 5 people who make it this far into the video, thank you for watching. I love y'all. Keep supporting, unless you don't want to. Goodbye.